the chef at the Kimberlane Hotel transferred me to help at other hotels in the whole city. I was transferred. I took ice carvings at some chefs at one hotel. I took candy at another hotel under a chef. Different chefs taught different things at different hotels. But the Kimberlane Hotel was my home base. At the age of 18, I started looking for a car because I felt I wanted a car. I paid for my first Plymouth. I paid $800 for a brand new Plymouth. Paid cash for it. At 19, I bought my first home, which my father signed the papers. At the age of 21, I was drafted into the Army. So I had to sell the house. They sent us to Breckenridge all in the same day. They sent us to Breckenridge, Kentucky. Scared. I didn't know, first time I've ever been away from home, and I didn't know what was going on or nothing. We got to Breckenridge, Kentucky, and we, whites and blacks, we were all together, and they asked, the captain came into the barracks, and he says, well, I have a fine group of men. Now I'm going to ask one question. Which of you all know anything about food? Who was a cook? Who was a chef? Etc. And by me being scared, I didn't want to say anything. So he said, if I have to stay up all night and go through each one of the records, and when I find out that you were a chef or a cook, I'm not going to be very nice. So in this statement, I raised my hand. He says, what do you do? I said, I'm a chef. Good. That's a start. So he pulls me aside. And then some of the other young fellows, they all volunteered. I'm a cook, and so on. So we had our cooks. And he says, now, the sergeant will take you to the mess hall. It's a mess. You'll have to clean it up. And because the camp has been closed for many years. So we went over, and they got a detail of men, and they went over and they cleaned the mess hall. And it says, chef, you're in charge of these men. You're even in charge of the sergeant. And so I says, yes, sir. So I was scared, didn't know how to talk to a sergeant or nothing like that, you know. I knew how to give orders because I've been doing it, you know, since I was a kid almost. And we got the mess hall cleaned up, went back around 2 o'clock in the morning, went to bed, got up at 5:30, I got up at 5, went over to the mess hall. They got the fires all started and everything. At 6:30, 6:45, the men started coming in for breakfast. And from that day on, at that camp, my name started growing, because in doing so, the 6 weeks that I was there at camp, all over the camp, they said this company had the best food. And we got to know quite a few, which it takes 4 companies to make a battalion. I was feeding the battalion. I had men from other companies come into our mess hall to eat. And when the captain found out, he got with the other captains and said, well, we'll take our rations of food, bring it to your mess hall, give you more cooks, etc., so that the battalion would have a place to eat. So we took 2 mess halls to feed the battalion. The general found out about it. He came over and had dinner with us one evening, and he told the captain he would like for me to stay on Breckenridge, in which I did. I stayed on Breckenridge, helped to start the food service school, cook school, and I stayed there for another 6 weeks. They told me that I had to get some time in other places, so they had to transfer me. My journey from Breckenridge to Seattle, Washington was wonderful. The Army I had a special train, the train service and everything. They were just wonderful to me. I got all the way to Seattle, Washington, and stayed there for a while, and then they transferred me from Washington and to Midway. We were on a boat, and they stopped in Midway, and the officer said, "I'm going to call some names, and I want each name that I call to step out." So my name, out of 3,000 men, my name came up, and I stepped out. What's going on here? I'm saying to myself. So there were, I guess, about 20 of us. And they says, "You are in special service. You have been selected for special service." They sent me to Korea. So from Midway to Japan, they flew us to Japan. From Japan, we stayed in Japan for about 3 to 4 days. From Japan, we were on our way to Korea. During training, whites and blacks trained together. We weren't separated until we went to Korea. Blacks and whites all stayed together until you would go to your company in Korea, which was an all-black company, in which I went to, which was very strange to me, because all my life I've always been mixed of everything, school and everything else, But this is the first time in my life that I was connected to an all-black company. That only lasted for less than a year before Truman changed the status. He broke the code of segregation. He started with it in Korea. And so we were all separated. We were all put together. We were separated, and then one night, half of my company was pulled out, and a half of the white company was pulled out and brought together. And that's how it got started, of bringing the races together in the military. I came back to the States, and after coming back to the States, I was out of the service for about 2 weeks and decided that I would do a short term in the service again, another 3 years if possible. I re-enlist. In doing so, they looked at my records and asked me would I care to be a salesman for the Army. And I said, "A salesman? I can't say." It says, "Well, according to your records, you're good." So I said, "Okay." So they sent me to Fort Meade, Maryland, to recruiting school. And I took the course there, finished school, and after doing so, they asked me where did I want to go. And I said, "Was it possible that I can be transferred back to Cincinnati?" "Yes, if you want to go there, we'll send you there." So I stayed here until my term was up in the military. and I stayed here in Cincinnati as a recruiter. I had a better way of stretching out to other people in the Army, getting to know more people in the Army and the military, and the outside of the world of other states and places that I would go, and countries. I learned a lot from the Japanese and the Koreans, and which was a beautiful way and an outlet for me to see how they lived and how the better classes in which they have classes like we do, and I found out that how they done it,